Welcome one and all to another build video. This is the final form of my Venting Inquisitor that I played for the majority of Mercenaries League. In the background there's going to be footage of me doing a few different flavors of endgame. This is a Simulacrum on Winter Orb. This is me face tanking a Fiat Valdos. The character at this point is just completely overpowered and shits on everything in the game. Like anything in the base game, including Ubers, is a complete joke. The one thing that I can still die to is Quad Ghosted Fiat with Embezzler's Grip, because Embezzler is ridiculously dangerous and extremely hard to build around. But yeah, anything else I can pretty much AFK through. This isn't meant to be a proper build guide. If that's what you're looking for, you should probably check out Captain Lance. He's made extensive videos on Energy Blade Inquisitor. The point of this video is mainly to just showcase the upgrade path that I've chosen for very endgame, because on PoE Ninja Ladder a lot of people are doing things slightly different, and I wanted to showcase what I've been doing and what I think is the best setup. This is me doing a Flawless Shoyula on Winter Orb. In general, Venting doesn't have great clear, so you kind of want to swap to a different spell for mapping like content. Winter Orb is the one I personally like the best, but there's also plenty of other viable options. You're just gonna have slightly lower damage than Venting, but this is more than enough for anything in the game as well. Here you can see me doing Uber Welder on 1-link Tempest Shield, just standing in the middle AFK. Like I said earlier, this is the final version of the build. I'm not gonna make any more upgrades. Anything else would be either extremely time consuming or extremely expensive, so yeah, this is where I'm drawing the line. I will leave you with a clip of me tanking the Ether nuke, and then we'll hop in game. Here we are in game. This is my character, Carl Venting, level 100 in Mercenaries Softcore. As always, you can look at it on PoE Ninja if you want. Keep in mind, this character is currently worth around 45 mirrors, which I realize is a lot more than almost everybody's going to invest, but the things I want to showcase will still be relevant for significantly lower budgets, let's say 1, 2, 3 or 4 mirrors. So yeah. The most important thing I want to talk about is the helm and the ring setup. You need one of these two items to be Shaper to activate Bound by Destiny. I'm doing the helmet. Connor, who's been running the stream on the build on stream, is doing a Shaper ring and the mirrored synthesized helmet that Abaxeth made. I'm doing a Shaper helm, Shaper Hunter with %int and KT to double up on my gold ring. This setup is strictly superior in terms of numbers, like just ES and damage, which I'm also going to showcase later on in POB. The one downside it does have is that I'm not able to reach 0 mana cost. Connor has -6 total mana cost between the ring and the helmet, which I can't do. There's two scenarios in which this matters. The first is no region maps, but in my experience, no region maps are pretty rare in the first place. I would say like 1 in 30 to 40 maps if you're running like 4 risk maps. But yeah, when it does happen, you can either run a mana flask, like an enduring mana flask, in your free slot, or you could change your gold ring to a worse one or like a different one with minus mana, and then you double up on it as well and get to -6. So that's the solution for that. Like, I'd rather run a slightly goofy setup for one map out of 40 than have just a worse setup overall for the rest of the game. And then the other scenario in which it matters is Embezzler's Grip, especially in like Fiat Valdos, which disables all non-instant recovery, including mana. The solution I've been doing for this is Val Clarity. With these two nodes from UI, Val Clarity lasts 12 seconds, and in 12 seconds you're either killing the Fiat or you're dead. There isn't really a realistic scenario where they're still alive and you're also alive. So in my experience, this is more than enough. You just hop into the Fiat, just press Val Clarity preemptively in case there's Embezzler, and then you don't have any mana spent and can just like one-shot them. Here we are in Connor's POB to showcase the numbers on the helmet very quickly. I'm using his POB to show that you don't need to have as much investment as I do to make the Shaper helmet better. Right now he has the mirrored helmet equipped and the Shaper ring. If I swap this to the Shaper helmet item set and then change the skills around, because you don't have to have the auras in your helmet anymore, this uses the same amount of enlightens and gem sockets, it just saves a bit of mana. Yeah, the Canon's Touch and the Shaper helm, this is a helmet I had a few weeks ago. I would say it costs around 250 to 300 divines to craft, and this Colonel's Touch obviously costs like 10d, so that's also like a mirror cheaper than the other setup. And he gains around 1.5k ES and maybe 9% more damage. Another downside of having 0 mana cost is that you can't proc Arcane Surge the normal way, because you don't have any mana spent. You want to be using Arcane Surge because it's just the best support gem. The next best one would be like Hypo or Ellie Focus, and those generally aren't great. But yeah, in order to proc Arcane Surge, if you have 0 mana cost, you need to use Arcane Blessing FF Jewels, which is more damage than Sanctuary of Thought, but in my opinion, this one is just slightly better overall. Just a bunch more ES. This gives me like, 4.5k ES pretty much. I prefer this over Arcane Blessing, but that's of course arguable. You could probably run either. As for the passive tree, this is the one I settled on with the like wraparound connecting on the top and the split persos on the side. What tree you're supposed to go for will depend a lot on your gear level if you're doing the block stuff. There's a lot of variations in this tree, like you can grab some RMR here if you need it. There's a few masteries you can do, the warp rune. One thing I would say is that generally these points are better than these three. Or yeah, this is one more point, but it gives you crit DR and more yes. Crit DR is super valuable, but I have crit DR on the Watcher's Eye and 22 on the shield. So I'm at 82 total, which should be plenty for most scenarios. But yeah, with the tree, like I swapped it around so many times, you're probably gonna have to see for yourself. One other thing I'm doing differently than most other people on Ninja Ladder is going for 90 max res. A lot of people are just sitting at 84 from Mage Blood Flasks. 90 max res is still extremely powerful in my opinion. You can argue that pen is what's killing you all you like, but even if you consider 25 pen, going from 59 to 65 effective res, that's still like a 15% damage reduction. And then in all other scenarios where there's less pen or no pen at all, going from 85 or 84 to 90 is still, that's like over 30% damage reduction. So 90 max res is still extremely effective in my opinion. There's a few spots I'm getting the max res from. The first one is the Milton Faith. I'm running double max res on this, which I don't think anybody else is doing. It's just the most efficient. Milton Faith is the most efficient timeless jewel or jewel in this spot anyway. Light of Meaning is a bunch more ES and Lethal Pride is a bunch more strength, but the fact that this gives you 30 all res is so hard to make up elsewhere because it's just going to cost you suffixes elsewhere. And then the aura effect is like some nice damage and then plus 2 max res. Otherwise I'm getting the max res from the chest. I'm not running aura effect on the chest. This just seemed more efficient. Aura effect is like some amount of more damage, but this just is the best spot to get 2 max res. And then I'm also doing max res on the shield. A lot of other people have the recover on block instead of the max res on the shield, which is also a good mod, but I don't have any additional investment into block. I'm only sitting at 47, 41, so it's not super reliable. And then there's also the fact that I can't use power charges because I'm crit capped. I could use frenzy charges, they would be very good. I can use endurance charges somewhat. I do gain some endurance charges from this mod, from the ability from the merc. It has mediocre uptime at best. So the block mod would do something there, like help my endurance charge uptime. But yeah, I just decided to go with the max res. I also have the corrupted shield now, so I'm not going to change it anymore. If anything, you would probably drop the int instead, in my opinion. But yeah, these shields are a bit tedious to craft, and most people are just doing the charge mod. Like I said earlier, I don't have any additional investment to block. You could probably do that. Block is pretty good, especially spell block for Feared, especially versus Feared with a Embezzler's Grip, because recover on block from the shield is the only instant recovery of ES that this build can like use well. So yeah, you could gain some additional block. One of the main things would be like a rare large cluster with 8 passives and spell block notables. Those are pretty good. You could run one of them. You could probably also run 2 of them, but you would lose quite a bit of like stats from the 12 passive larges. Then you can also do a Roomies, and then you probably change the Granite for probably a Silver or a Quicksilver Flask, and then just like run faster and have the Roomies there. And then you can also have additional block on the Watcher's Eye. I have ES recovery rate. I think crit DR and gain ES are the 2 best mods by far. You shouldn't drop these. And then the third one, there's a couple of options you can go for. I think energy recovery rate is very strong, but spell block would probably also be very good, and so would attack block. And then you could also have like spell block implicit on the shield. I would probably prefer that over crit DR, actually. I have this one with attack block, which I don't think is as valuable, but you could also run that. I'm just sitting at 47, 41. In my opinion, that's like plenty to not get shotgunned. I think more is also very good, especially spell block. I am also not doing global defenses on the chest. I think triple ES is just better for the most part. Triple ES is just more ES, and then you also get the 8% attributes instead of 6%, which is somewhat significant. It's like with a large amount of it, it's like a decent bit. Global defenses gives you more armor, which I don't think is super relevant unless you're running Divine Shield. I think this could actually be really powerful if you set up Divine Shield correctly to enable Overleech, have like slightly less armor than ES. The reason I didn't go for this is because map mods just fuck with this too much. There's like so many map mods and altars that can change your armor by like a different amount, and then this setup just doesn't work anymore. So yeah, but you would probably need global def to reach the appropriate amount of armor anyway, because now I'm sitting at, okay, this is in hideout with the merc aura, I'm sitting at like 28k I believe. I would need global defenses to be able to reach anywhere close to my maximum ES. I'm using 3 copies of this Abyss Jewel with evasion. You can also run armor, which you probably would need for Divine Shield, but evasion is very efficient in my opinion with just the 3 jewels with flat evasion. I gain just under 750 flat evasion, which with Shaper's Touch scaling gets me to, well, in game it says 47 evade chance, I think it's actually 50. Flat evasion gets scaled so hard by Shaper's Touch if you have a decent amount of int, and you don't need a lot to get decent amounts of evade chance. Even like 1 jewel will put you at like 10 to 15 depending on how much int you have. I would run armor if I had grace instead of haste. If you run grace, you are probably close to evade cap anyway, and then flat evasion doesn't really do much anymore. So you probably rather have the armor on the jewels. You can also run like corrupted jewels with like 4 stats that are pretty cheap. So I would probably like try to go for evasion there if you can, because it's just very efficient. One thing that's very important is getting ES leech somewhere. I have it on one of the large clusters. You could also grab it for 1 point here, or what I did for the longest time is having a rare cobalt jewel with implicit ES leech, and then rolling it for like ES triple or ES double crit multi or any useful mods. Those are pretty hard to roll for 4 mods though, and I also just prefer split perso over rare jewel in my setup. So the best spot to get it is on a large cluster. For the merc, I'm doing Earth Shaker. The one other option I would consider is Fallen Reverend with double aura. If you assume that Kingmaker aura is active, then Earthshaker is significantly better than Fallen Reverend. But Kingmaker's area of effect is not very large, it's 3 meters I believe. So a decent like chunk of the time you're out of range of this, so it isn't always up. I decided to go with it anyway. But yeah, so I'm doing Kingmaker, then Malediction Helmet. Arn's Contempt is the best one because it has crit DR, but any of the unique ones are probably fine. Dorianus with crit DR, Determ comes Binding, that's pretty standard. KT, then a nice ring with Recoup Life and maxres. Perkles with Determ Effect and Golemon's Blood. You can run a different anoint, you could do like Influence or more Recoup or Regenerate even. I just did Golemon's Blood, honestly, like who knows what's best anyway. In very rippy maps, like usually just quad Ghost of Feared, you kind of have to run Defiance, because that guy will just like die to Val Stormcall. There isn't really a way to go around that, because my guy has, okay, the ring is bugged right now, has 7.8k life, and he can still die to Val Stormcall without the Defiance. Then for the boots on the gloves, I'm doing Abyss Socket boots with like Shock Avoid, Abyss Jewel, and then just like pretty normal stuff, except for the Pinnacle CDR, which is for the Endure spell. This will give him a little bit of CDR to cast this more often, which increases the uptime a little bit. Like the actual cooldown on this now is like 6.5 seconds or something, I want to say. And charges obviously last for 10 seconds by default, but they will still not always be up. But yeah, this helps a little bit. You could also run CDR on the Abyss Jewel, which I don't have, but you could. You could also run the second Abyss Jewel here, which I also don't have because I have to fix Chaos Rest somewhere, and then I want a bit of Regen Rage. But this is just like life, res, normal stuff. The Pinnacle Perfect Unnerve on the gloves is nice because then it's guaranteed unnerves and he only has to hit the enemy once to unnerve it, which is pretty decent, but this is very annoying to roll. Like you could probably go for a cheaper setup, but the Pinnacle mods are very good because they're always active on mercs, but I assume everyone knows this by now. I'm gonna cover my own POB very quickly. All the items should be correct. In the config of the merc stuff, this is his determ. These numbers are too low, I believe, because in-game I have a bit more armor, but this doesn't matter too much. The fist taking has fire from Chaos Binding. these 3 mods from Kingmaker, Malediction, Helmet, Unnerved Gloves, chance to sap enemies is actually from the shield, which doesn't work in PoB, but I don't have sap ticked, so this doesn't do anything. And then Lucky from Perkle's Toe, you can also like exclude this, and then your damage will go down by like 30% when you're wearing Defiance. But yeah, Shock to 50, you can put it lower if you want, but like every boss except Delirious stuff with DR and like Deep Dive will be shocked for 50% with like over 100 mil hits. And on Conscrown from Stationary, you can also take Chill from the Frost Shield. It doesn't matter too much. I have Frost Shield stages set to 0. If you can, like, you can put this up, and then your max will go up. You can also take sapped if you want, but I don't know how much the shield saps actually. Wiki says 6%, but the in-game value displays something else, so I don't know. And then the Luminar's 2 armor, of course, the stationary stuff, everything here should be up. I have endurance charges set to 1. You can change it if you like. Like I said, the uptime on the merc varies a lot, so yeah, this is just what I've set it to. Of course, the Doriani's minus 200. Notes has a full price breakdown. Some of the stuff is like pretty hard to estimate, but yeah, here we are. I think that's about it. The POB is going to be in the description, of course. I'm also going to put what I consider to be a starter budget POB in the description. It'll still be like 700, 800 divines. But yeah, if Energy Blade goes unchanged next patch, which I don't expect it will be, I might do like a full progression guide from a starter POB to like ultra endgame. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know, of course. Overall, this build was super fun. I love min-maxing it. It's like the most powerful build I've ever played by far. More powerful than like P-Board Adorned in Affliction. Like I said, it'll probably get nerfed next patch. ES scaling is very OP, and Energy Blade is also OP. So it might even get like a double nerf hammer. But we'll see. Thank you guys very much for watching, and see you next time.